Hey, what's going on, everybody? The Amputate Fear, Amplify Life podcast is where you are, where transformation always takes center stage. I'm your host, John Register, a two-time Olympic trials qualifier, combat veteran, amputee, Paralympic silver medalist, and certified speaking professional. Join me as we dive deep into the lives of senior C-suite leaders and inspirational influencers who've turned adversities into advantages. We uncover the raw, real stories behind the corporate facade. We're talking challenges, pitfalls, and most importantly, the victorious turnarounds that define true leadership. Prepare to be inspired to act as these leaders don't just overcome obstacles, they transform them into triumphs. Let's amputate fear and amplify life right here, right now. He is a titan in the realm of speaker development and a mastermind at Impact 11. With over 2.5 decades of unparalleled expertise, she has blazed trails at both the Washington Speakers Bureau and Gotham Artist. Her work, nothing short of legendary, partnering with the creme de la creme of thought leaders and steering monumental corporate speaking events across the globe. At the heart of Impact 11, she infuses her vast experience to fueling the growth of speakers at all career stages. This just isn't a job, it's her mission. Impact 11 stands as a beacon of transformation in the speaker development, and our guest is the guiding light, honing messages, skyrocketing brands, and supercharging impact. Her relentless pursuits of excellence and integral involvement in every facet of speaker development solidifies her as a powerhouse in shaping both speaking careers and the industry. Who am I talking about? Well, let me tell you, straddling her life between Tampa, Florida and Pittsburgh, PA, she cherishes her moments with her family of redheads, you know what I'm talking about now, and of course, Roxy, the family dog. Together they form the vibrant tapestry of her life. Meet the one, the only speaker whisperer, Miss Ivy Gustafson. How you doing?
Hello, John. Thank you so much for that introduction. I think I just made my mother proud. That's amazing. I didn't realize I'd done all those things.
You've done all those things and even more. So we're going to get right into this, Ivy, because you are just one of these most brilliant people. You are an inspirational leader. I call inspirational leaders that because they inspire. And what do I mean by that? Inspiration comes from the Latin word inspiro, which means to breathe life. So you breathe life into so many people, and that's why I call you an inspirational leader. So it's easy to think of the things that have gone right.
Yep.
But what if you were writing a book? And the book's entitled The Anarchist Guide to Destroying the Speaker Agent or Ending the Client Relationship. What might your best chapter title be?
Oh, this is probably one of the most interesting questions I've gotten because, again, as you said, we all love to talk about the good stuff, right? These are the brilliant stories, the turnaround stories, the happy endings. But in our world, we have sort of a joke of, those in our industry that have been in for a bit, if we could write a book about all the bad days, right? That might be a better bestseller than the book about the good days.
Right.
And so this is why I love this question because, again, it's really fun to sort of think about things in a different way. And I have to say that in my Anarchist Guide to Defeating Anything, my title chapter would probably be It's Not About You, because that's what people often miss in this industry. And, certainly my perspective comes from the speakers. I've worked with other bureaus, other, this, that, and the other, but really my primary, mission and existence is wrapped around putting speakers on stages all over the world. And I have found that 9 times out of 10, if there's a misstep, if there's a problem, if there's a catastrophe, it's because someone was too focused on themselves and not focused on what they were really there to do and who they were there to serve. So I would start with, it's not about you.
That's juicy. It's not about you. So there must be a story someplace in there that names.
So many.
Just give us a story. What happened?
So I'm not going to name any names because that would be bad. I really like my job. I like my career. But I mean, I was thinking about this and one event always stands out in my mind. And it was years ago. And it really was sort of the perfect storm of It's Not About You, right? You had the client that thought it was all about them. You had the speaker that thought it was all about them. And everyone had their own goals based on their personal situation, right? And those goals were not aligned. Again, we had two tracks running head to head, both thinking that someone else was going to play chicken, and no one did. And, it ended up being well enough. And it was an attitude from the buyer's perspective and from the client's perspective of, I paid money for the speaker. They should be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, a very much an attitude of entitlement. And the speaker saying, I'm the speaker, I'm the main stage keynote, I should be able to do whatever I want. I should be able to get out of this event what I want because they have been graced with my presence. And from the buyer's perspective, the speaker had been graced with a stage. And what got lost in all of this was the impact on the audience, who was the one group that they were both there to serve. And so, it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff happened from the stage. Everybody put their differences behind it. So ultimately it did end up that the audience learned, the audience was inspired, the audience went home thinking it was the greatest event that had ever happened. But on the back end, both speaker and client were horribly disappointed, very angry, and it really ended quite badly from that perspective. And so, from my position at the time as a bureau agent, even though the audience walked away happy, I considered that event to be one of my greatest failures because I could not figure out a way to help both people see the greater impact we were all trying to make. And ultimately, this is a relationship business. It's the relationship between the client and, in my case, the bureau. It's the relationship between the client and the speaker. It's the relationship between the speaker and the audience, the client and the audience. Those are their people. And I think ultimately, if we had really gone into that situation with an attitude of how are we going to best serve our true client, the person in the audience, it would have been a much better outcome for everyone all the way around.
Well, there's a lot of passion around that, and I see that happening in other areas as well. So I love that chapter title. It's not about you, and great story behind that, and real example of who we are actually serving for the entire industry, right? So we're all part of the supply chain, and the supply chain is put out is executing for the client. And I think sometimes we get a little bit too ahead of our skis and think that the speaker in this case was thinking that he or she was the cat's meow, and the client was like, oh, we've paid money, so therefore we get to show up as we want to show up in this scenario. And I always like to take things out of the realm of speaking. And it's like you buy your ticket to a football game, a basketball game, a baseball game, and that gives you the right, some people think, to throw your beer on the players as they go underneath the tunnel.
No, definitely not.
Absolutely not. That's behavior, and we have to, always execute in good behavior. So it's just kind of one of those things I think that always kind of comes up. But I want to know now, you had so much passion around that answer. What brought you into this industry? How did you arrive at Ivy Gustafson? I mean, world renowned agent and all this. Yeah,
I know, I love it, and it's really funny. It's I come from a family of heroes. In my case, my mother, my grandparents were all heroes, and they were all in the service industry. My mother was a teacher from everywhere started her career teaching English in college and ended up 20 years teaching kindergarten. And her greatest, accomplishment in her eyes is that she taught so many kids how to read, right? My grandfather was in the service industry, huge philanthropist. And so I really have come into every area of my life with this mindset of service. And so when I was in my early 20s, which makes me, today in my late 20s, but, we're not counting, I was in the staffing industry. I was helping people in Washington, D.C. find jobs. And, I don't know how the staffing industry is doing today, but back then that was a big deal. I remember going through the newspaper, looking for the ads, who needs a receptionist, who needs an accountant. And so my job was to match up qualified candidates with the jobs that were available. And I really liked my work. And I remember one day I was, I always wanted to know where I was sending people to make sure I was making the right match. And I was touring an office and just wanted to see the environment, see the, what's the vibe, what's the energy, what kind of person's going to do well here. And we're touring, and I saw in their kitchen that they had a fountain Coke machine in the kitchen. And when you're 25 and Diet Coke is a line item in your monthly budget, the thought of free Diet Coke is about as good as it gets. And I'm like, oh my God, free Diet Coke. And they're right around the corner from my house. And so I got back to my office and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to take a shot. And I shot an email over to my contact who happened to be the director of HR and said, listen, what I do kind of lines up with what y'all do, because that office happened to be the Washington Speakers Bureau. Wow. And I'm like, if there's ever an opportunity to work together, I'd love to have a conversation. A week later, I found myself interviewing with the founder and CEO, Bernie Swain and Harry Rhodes. And 3 days after that, I was working there. And that started my 17-year career at the Washington Speakers Bureau. And I had the most incredible luck, gift, opportunity to learn from the two people who basically built this industry and built the way it is today, when Harry and Bernie. And I loved that they both had such a different way of approaching business. So I got to learn all sides of all things because I got to work for both of them before I was promoted to being an agent on my own with my own book of business. And, from there, things really took off, and I had an almost 22, 23-year career after Washington Speakers Bureau with Gotham Artists out of New York City. Had a wonderful time there. And then during COVID, I kind of caught this little coaching bug, right? We weren't booking a ton of speakers. And a lot of the speakers that I worked with were coming to me saying, I'm looking to tweak my positioning. I want to work on my website. Can you take a look at this? Can you help me out with this? I was like, sure, I don't have anything else to do right now except cancel events. So I might as well, be helpful. And I loved it. And I found out that those hours of the week were my most favorite hours, right? Not that I didn't love what I was doing, but I really loved doing this. And, I have to say I was feeling a little stuck. And one morning I'm laying in bed, sort of scrolling Instagram as we're told not to do within the first 5 minutes of waking up, because it's going to wreck our brain for the day. And my dear friend in my mind, not in real life, Mel Robbins, came across one of her little posts that said, if you want to change your life, the only person who's going to really do it is you. No one's coming for you, lady. No one's coming for you. And I said, you know what? She's right. And I opened my email app and I flipped a note over to the team at Impact 11 and said, hey, I really like this coaching thing. I really think this is my next chapter in our industry. And if you ever have any speakers that need some help, please consider me a resource. That afternoon, I was on the phone. A week later, I was hired. And so I really can, you want to say I can chalk up my, entire career to Diet Coke and Mel Robbins. It feels like, that's not enough, but that's really how it happened. And everything that I have learned along the way just came from those two really monumental decisions that seemed so tiny in the moment.
We said in the introduction that you have a beautiful family and a dog, Roxy.
Yes,
and it kind of my heart, because we had a dog, Roxy, too, and she wound up passing away. And so that was our Roxy. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Roxy. She's a Pomeranian. And
yes.
This is a business that can really chew people up.
Yes.
Because you're chasing after stuff all the time, it seems, right? And the churn is like never ending. How do you keep that balance?
So I think the number one way I keep the balance in my life is that I do not strive for balance. I feel like balance is a fleeting moment. And if your end goal is balance, you're going to be happy for about 5 seconds a day, right. Which kind of sucks, actually. It's not a lot of fun. So I have always tried very hard to, instead of finding balance, is finding presence. So wherever I am, I try so hard to be giving my whole self in that moment to whoever I'm with, wherever I am. And, my children are in their teens, so they have grown up with me being in this industry. They have grown up with me tracking flights in the middle of the night. They have grown up with me saying, Mommy's got to go to Africa with the president tomorrow. Good luck. That actually happened. It's a different story. But again, my children have known because they know they say, I'm always going to make sure that they're okay. They're going to be cared for. They're going to be fed. They're going to be clothed. They're going to get to school. They have nothing to worry about. But I also, they know is that when I'm with them, I'm with them. And work knows that as well. And I have really tried very hard to, they're not hard boundaries, but I am so grateful to, when my kids grew up and started doing sports, I was with Gotham and now with Impact 11. I've never missed a basketball game. I've never missed a tennis match. I've barely missed pickups from school. And I think that is a true testament to, the leadership at Gotham with Alec Melman. I think is a testament to Jordan and Connor and the leadership at Impact 11 on allowing me to work with agency and be results focused, right? I wasn't ever judged, okay, well, Ivy's not at her desk from 9 to 5. Did Ivy hit her numbers? Yes. Do her kids have pretty good grades? Yes. And so I really try to keep my life outcome focused and focus on the results, not necessarily on the crazy road it took me to get there.
I heard you say earlier, not in this conversation, but another conversation, that balance was like as soon as you think it's balanced up, it's like a teeter-totter. And as soon as you think you're on one side, it goes on the other side. And so I love that analogy that you gave to balance. When you think about this and you think 10 years from now, right?
Sure.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to others who are following your path?
Others in the speaking world?
Any
crazy moms, or both.
whoever comes to mind. I would actually say let's go keep it in the speaking world of either authors, trainers, coaches, or those that are agents or those that are building empires as bureaus. You look back from 10 years, what would it be?
No, looking forward for 10 years, I would honestly probably start that by looking back for 25 years and seeing how far we've come, and looking back even sort of, back to, like I said, learning from Harry and Bernie. And the one thing that I would love to see, and I am starting to see, and it makes me really, really happy, is let's move as an industry from this attitude of scarcity to an attitude of an abundance. This is a massive market. It's massive. I think sometimes at Impact 11, we've tried to do the math. It's something like a $4 billion industry in the United States alone. There is room for everyone at the table, right? And I really would love to see partnerships happening, collaboration happening, right? As we elevate each other, as we elevate the industry, it's only going to get better for all of us. And so I would really love to see that move. And I think, from an agent's perspective, and, it's like any sales job. You have numbers to hit. Your bonuses depend on this. I get it. I worked on commission for 23 years. And actually, frankly, even before this is the first job that I've never not been on commission. And it's, you can get that panic at the end of the month. Oh my God, I'm not going to get this. What about my vacation? What about my this? And I think that fear immediately moves you into that scarcity mindset. But I think, again, it's sort of like not achieving the work-life balance. It's sort of thinking, what is that end result we're looking for, right? By focusing on that, I think, and you start to see the abundance, then things magically fall into place. It's really weird. And, and I've worked with David Blaine, and all I can say is that, the demand is for real magic, but for those, mere mortals here. And, it's that attitude shift. It's like all of a sudden it's like, hey, things pop up when you don't even really know they're coming. But if you're locked in this fear mode, you cannot see the opportunities around you. So I would really love to see greater collaboration, greater communication, and greater partnerships in unusual ways, right? Coming up in this industry, because it only makes, a bigger pie for all of us.
I like the way, because I was just about to go there with the bigger pie. And of course, Cavett Robert, who started the entire industry. And so every speaker who's on any platform owes a debt of gratitude to this person who saw it from that angle of building the bigger pie, because there's enough space for everyone. Everyone who's on, any speaker that's out there, professional speaker, tied to National Speaker Association or not, you owe your platform.
Yes.
this industry to Cavett Robert. Okay, so that's what I want. That's my big plug because
I
it's
love
just
it.
amazing. So thanks for ending on that. How
Of
do
course.
how I have two more questions, but one is they're pretty simple. Number one is
Oh, great.
how would you summarize our time together today?
Oh, this has been so much fun. It's so much fun. I mean, it's, I feel like I'm just sort of like dorking out over all of this stuff, right? And I just love talking about this. And I really, I couldn't be more grateful for the job that I'm in now because I love that I'm sort of bringing up the next generation. I am helping the next generation. And a lot of people, I tell this to people all the time, and a lot of people find it kind of insane, is that actually I'm a very shy person, right? I have spent 25 years in the backs of rooms knowing that I was never going to be on stage, like an Ariana Huffington, a Terry Bradshaw, Bonnie St. John, all these people, they're up on that stage
I
changing
think
the world, right? Love my Bonnie, right? I knew I was never going to be able to do that. It's just not who I am, and that's okay, right? But if I can help y'all change the world, that's my little dent in the universe. And a nod to, the generations of people in my family that have come before me in an act of service. And I really truly believe that, and I've seen it before. I mean, speakers from stages have saved lives. People Speakers from stages have changed lives. They've changed industries. They've changed business. This is how our world moves forward better. And anything that I can pour into that, from the crazy experiences that I've had and the things I've learned along the way, I'm in for 100%.
you said Bonnie St. John. She's my cabinet. She is
Oh,
my yes. She's an amputee. Everybody that's out there that does
yes,
not know Bonnie, and Bonnie's also the first African American downhill skier in any sport to
yes.
win a medal. And she's also a Rhodes Scholar. Was on the Clinton administration for economics. She's just a brilliant woman, and so she got me. She gave me my start in the speaker industry. So, how do people find you?
Oh, well, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I'm the vice president of speaker development and coaching at Impact 11. And, one of our guiding principles, I think it's on the website, is smoother than a fresh jar of Skippy, which means we try to reduce friction in everything that we do. So our website is impact11.com. It's just that simple. And that's where I spend most of my days, here in my home office in Tampa or my home office in Pittsburgh. And I'm on Zooms all day. And I would love to connect with anyone who is looking to make a start in this industry, who is in it and wants to get to the next level. And anything that you do, we do a lot of work around content development. We do a lot of work around positioning, but we also have a lot of expertise and experience in the creative side of this business in terms of video creation and website development and branding. So we get to do all the fun stuff over at Impact 11, and we just really we make sure we have a good time while we do the hard work.
I want to thank you so much for your gifts of your time this evening, or whenever you're listening to this. Ivy is just a gold mine, and so thank you so much for gracing us with your time, and or today, or to this afternoon, whenever you listen to this podcast. So as we begin to wrap up this episode of Amputate Fear, Amplify Life, I want to thank Ivy for gracing us with her insights and inspiration, and take us on a transformational journey by helping us amputate fear and amplifying life. Did you hear what she said? Goals not aligned to goals being aligned, offering more grace, and having an abundant mindset instead of a scarcity mindset, having partnerships and collaborations, all these things. And if you didn't catch it, free Diet Coke for everybody. That's what's the other thing. I'm your host, John Register, guiding us through the transformative journeys of some of the most inspiring leaders in the business world. Remember, it's not just about facing challenges, it's about convincing them into your greatest success. To continue this journey of transformation, find me online at www.johnregister.com. On the top of the website, you can find all my social media channels that will link you to daily doses of inspiration and updates on future episodes, as well as a button to have a conversation with me about how I might be able to support you your business in the transformation of your organization as a keynote speaker, fireside chat guy, deep dive leadership expert, and team facilitator for your breakthrough. Together, we can amputate fear, embrace a new normal mindset, winning life's medals along the way. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, and share once again this podcast with the bestest and most dearest colleague, and keep amplifying your life. Until next time, stay inspired. Bye for now.